Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Jason Flame, host of the Master Motivation Podcast. And today, it's a great day. It's Wednesday, May 31st, 2023. We got a great guest on. So let's get fired up. Let's get ready to roll. This is Raul Marin, who is also known as the Wise Wolf. So we got a wolf and a flame, a poet and an author of Rise with Gratitude, poems to inspire your growth and greatness. He's an award-winning speaker and host of the Wise Hour with the Wise Wolf Facebook Live show. He's also the co-founder of Empowered Journey Mastermind Group and has worked for 18 years in adult ESL education. He has also worked for 18 years as private event DJ. He is a Maxwell Leadership Team speaker, coach, and trainer, and founder of the Poetic Freedom Summit. He is a founding member of the Connected Leaders Academy and will soon be a two-time author, as he will soon be contributing a chapter to an anthology with other entrepreneurs. Raul, welcome to the show.
Good afternoon or good morning, wherever you are, my brother. I think it's good morning to you.
It's still morning. It's before noon. It's 11:04 here in California.
There you go. I gotta tell you, I feel good being on this side of the screen, because if I was in that ring with you, I'd probably run out in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Those were good times. Good times. Haven't been in that ring in just a bit, but one of my favorite things that I've ever done and accomplished in my life is being a professional wrestler. So I'm excited to have you on the show today. We've connected through the Connected Leaders Academy and several mutual friends, and I've watched you on the different podcasts and the different shows, and I knew that you would be an amazing guest here today. So I'd love for everybody to get to know you better, and for myself to get to know you a little bit better as well. So I'm excited for this time to spend with you over this next 45 minutes to an hour. And for anybody watching here live, if you have any questions or comments, please drop us a line. Let us know that you're here. Let us know that you're watching. And again, we'd love to hear your questions or your comments. So Raul, if you can get us started, tell us a little bit about your childhood and your background.
So I was born on a day like today, hopefully. It was like this today, if I could remember, right? When you don't remember the day that you were born, except for the day that you were born, how the weather was. But January 12th, 1984. So this is my last ride in my 30s. I can't believe it. But I was born in DC, and I was raised all my life in Maryland, Silver Spring, Maryland. Literally 7 minutes from our leader, CLA founder, Jose Escobar's home. So I always joke that if anybody wants me to grab a book from his massive library, I'm definitely one guy that can do it, because he's literally just 7 minutes from me. So, Silver Spring, Maryland has been my home for just about my whole life. Mm-hmm. I'm the only son of four to Salvadoran parents. And this year, in fact, in a couple weeks, it's going to be the 8th anniversary of me donating my kidney to my mother. Wow! So it's been a long journey from from January 12th, 1984 to now.
Yeah. Well, we definitely need to talk a little bit more about that. And just a quick shout out to Jose. He's watching here. I didn't know that you guys were that close in proximity. How did you guys meet? How did you and Jose meet?
So who knew that our mothers would work and collaborate together as entrepreneurs in the beauty and skincare industry? I'm sure you've heard of like the Mary Kay and Avon companies. Yep. They work for Jafra, which is not as commercialized as Mary Kay and Avon are, but it's been around just as long, if not longer. And so both Jose's mom and my mom work for that business. Mm-hmm. And of course, whenever there were meetings that were held, Jose's mom would bring him along, and to kill time, because they were in a boring meeting, right? The kids would just go out and play soccer, football, whatever we had. And so I spent a lot of my childhood with Jose. Wow. And then fast forward to about 3 years ago, when he really started to take off on this personal growth journey and started developing the CLA and the Entrepreneur's Bookshelf and so on and so forth. So I've really, even though I've known him for about 30 years, it's been in these last 3 years through the CLA, through his morning and evening routine program that we really started to connect even more.
Hmm. Well, that's amazing. A 30-year relationship, and now here you guys are, working together and making some great moves together. And Jose's watching, and he said, "Yeah, we're definitely going down memory lane." I mean, I just think that's super cool that I have a couple friends that still to this day we grew up together. As probably 10, 11, 12-year olds. We did martial arts together, and still to this day, one of my closest friends, Brian, we still hang out on the regular. He's coming to the karate school, and it's so fun to sit back and go down memory lane. He was just sending me pictures the other day of some events that we did, or some martial arts classes that we took, and we're kind of pointing out everybody. So but how cool is that to be able to build a working relationship with someone that you've known for so long? So yeah, that's amazing. That's really cool. And I'm sure maybe we'll get to some more stories. Maybe we'll have to get some dirt on Jose here in a minute. But what really stuck out to me a minute ago was talking about that it's been 8 years that you donated a kidney to your mom. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. My mother, I'm the third in the family. I've got three sisters. And it was when she was pregnant with me that she developed an infection in her tonsils that eventually progressed to affect her kidneys. I think it's her tonsils, like, or the somewhere
Lymph nodes,
or maybe it's the lymph nodes. So an infection to that triggered an infection to her kidneys.
Mm-hmm.
And that started to really develop over time. And you would see my mother, and my mother is like the most health conscious person I know. She's never been into sweets or salties, or she's
Mm-hmm.
as healthy as they come. You would never look at my mom and think that she's got an infection with her kidneys.
Mm-hmm.
But she went along with life, and she knew that she had, weak kidneys per se. But she would just be calm and casual, and it wouldn't affect her in the slightest bit, until about 10 years ago, that her doctor said, "Margarita, her name's Margarita, you are borderline kidney failure at this point.
Wow.
So the only alternatives or solutions that you have are dialysis or transplant." And my mom, being the go-getter and self-starter that she is, she's like, I'm not going the route of transplant, dialysis. I'm, transplant. So everybody in the family gets tested to see if we could be a compatible match.
Mm-hmm.
And neither my sisters nor my father were compatible, just me.
Wow.
And so 8 years ago, this summer, we successfully had the kidney transplant at Georgetown Hospital.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, what a gift. What a gift from you.
Yeah.
Is she still with us and still healthy now?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think she's fitter than ever before.
Wow. And for yourself, were there any complications on either side, or it was a smooth transition?
Pretty much a smooth transition. I mean, to have a surgery like that, of course you're nervous.
Sure.
You're thinking, what's going to happen with my life?
Uh-huh.
Do I need to alter some things, or do I
Mm-hmm.
need to eat or drink differently?
Mm-hmm.
I remember I remember a student asking me, "Teacher, are you sure you're ready for this?" And I'm like, "Well, I mean, I need to help my mother." "Well, of course." They said, "Because you're not going to be able to drink alcohol anymore." And I was like, "Huh. Well, I mean, let me ask the doctor, right?" And so I was like, "Doctor," he's like, "Do you have any questions or concerns? I mean, anything?"
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Well, I mean, I am curious about something, doctor." And he said, is it true that after this surgery, I'm not going to be able to have alcohol?" And he kind of smirked at me and said, In moderation, my friend, in moderation. Anything in moderation is good.
So that worked out. That worked out
Okay,
okay.
okay, that's fine. Of course, you don't want to overdo it either, you know.
Sure.
But yeah,
Now, I have to ask. I mean, your thought process going into this, was there any hesitation, or were you like, "This is my mom. I need to help her, and I'm just going to do this"?
the latter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just no thought about it.
Yep.
You were the match, and just good to go.
Yep.
God bless you.
Yep.
It's amazing. I have a relative that also went through a kidney transplant, and I remember him being on dialysis, and just how hard that was prior to the transplant, and just all the challenges that come along with that. But yeah, no, that's amazing. I think that's great. Well, tell us a little bit more about your mom, your parents, your sisters, and growing up. We know that you grew up with Jose, but let's talk about those siblings.
So Mama Bear was a very she was the between my mother and my father, she was the more of the disciplinarian one. She was the one that said, no TV
Mm-hmm.
Monday through Friday, because your priority is school.
Right.
You don't have any bills to pay. You're not married. You don't have a job. Your priority is school. So I don't want to see anything less than a C. No D's or E's. Just I mean, even a C was questionable, right? But
Right.
she'd accept it. So Monday through Friday, no TV, because the focus was school. And even on Fridays, because she knew because she knew that I knew that Fridays was TV day, I'd rush to get my homework done so I could watch TV. So she'd have my sisters check. She's like, make sure your brother did his homework, right? Because I don't want him to just be done and be done with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so because I'm in a rush to do the TV, so like they'd find a lot of mistakes. So it's like, you're not going to watch TV until they approve that it's right, that it's done right. And oftentimes I spent a lot of summers at home while all the other kids were at home at summer camps and having fun outside. I was inside learning how to type.
Hmm.
And she said, one day you're going to thank me for this. It's like, but I want to play soccer and football and enjoy the summer. And it's like, well, who cares what everybody else is doing? I'm telling you, one day you're going to thank me for spending so much time over the summer learning how to type. And boy, I can't thank her enough, because now when I'm on my computer, like, I don't look at the keyboard. I'm just,
Right.
so
Well,
summers spent doing that.
yeah, as a writer and a poet, I mean, you got to be pretty handy there. I have to say that I never formally learned how to type. I'm a what do they call it, hen and peck or whatever. It's just like, but I can get going sometimes if I get a roll. But I kind of still have to look a little bit. But that's a skill. Well, tell me, listen, what was it like? 3 sisters, and you the only boy.
Yeah.
What was it like growing up with all the girls?
It was interesting, even though I was the younger, brother, I felt very protective, about them, being around the right people, and just, of course we fought, because brother and sisters fight all the time. When my mom and dad weren't around, there would be a little bit of a rebel in me, and I wouldn't want to listen to them, right? It's like, I'd say, well, you're not in charge. You're not mom and dad. It's like, well, mom and dad aren't here, so now I'm in charge. So you got to listen to me. I'm like, nah. So we'd fight, but it was we grew up, in a very loving and encouraging and supporting, brotherhood and sisterhood, if you will. That whenever I had struggled with math or science or whatever I was struggling with, they'd help me. I couldn't be of much help to them because, I mean, they were off and running. They were very active in school. All of us were. We were all student athletes. I'd say 3 of us played soccer. One of my younger sisters, she played field hockey.
Okay. What's the age? What's the age difference in age?
Uh, so my oldest sister, we're 6 years apart.
Okay.
So I'm 39. She's gonna be 46 this year. And then my second oldest sister is a year apart from the oldest sister.
Okay.
And then there's me. And then I'm 6 years apart from my youngest sister.
Wow. So 12 years between the youngest and the oldest.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's almost I don't want to say a generation, but like that's a pretty big
A pretty big
gap,
yeah.
right? I mean, I can definitely relate in a small way that my youngest brother is 7 years younger than me, and I remember taking that role as the oldest of always kind of like looking out for the younger ones. Not as much my middle brother, but my youngest brother, kind of like always, keeping tabs on him a little bit. And at times, it could really get under his skin because he's like, you're not my dad, you're my brother. But, but I felt that same type of, responsibility at that time. And so I can, with a 12-year gap, I can definitely see that probably played a role. So you were all athletes. You played soccer. You had one played field hockey. Did you play any other sports, any other activities, physically or in school? Were there other activities that you were involved in?
In school, for me, it was soccer all 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to give a shot at the at the basketball team, but then everybody else was like head and shoulders taller than me.
Yeah, I know what that's like. I'm only 5'10".
I love the basketball. I still do today.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't think I'm gonna be able to shoot a shot to save my life with these tall guys. So it was always soccer for me. But once I got out of high school, and now as I consider our physical fitness a good part of my lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
I've taken running and a lot more seriously than I ever have.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've acquired a lot of 5K, 10K, half marathon medals, which I do primarily for not just to support the cause that they're for, but B, to stay in shape.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you've done 5Ks, you've done 10Ks, you've done half marathons. I got to ask, have you ever done a Spartan race?
Ooh, no.
Oh, all right. You got to get out there. You got to get out there on there. Put that on the list because, I absolutely, I just hated running as a younger man, hated running. I didn't really get into running until I started doing the Spartan races, and Spartan races are more like a fast hike. It's not really a run, but I really love the outdoors and I love the obstacles. So I started running more, so that when I went to run those, I wasn't, I remember running my first Spartan race. I was 245 pounds and I was huffing and puffing on 8 miles. I was dying. And I said, I will never allow this to happen again. Are there other, is there other, other things that you like to do, other pastimes, activities? You said you're a physical person. You like to go to the gym, work out, ever do martial arts?
I have not tried martial arts, but I'm very much intrigued after seeing that video of yours. I mean, I'm a big fan of hiking.
Yeah.
Just going in the outdoors and being in nature, photographing. There's a lot of great hiking spots here in Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
You can enjoy not just for the hiking, not if you enjoy the hiking in general, but if you like landscape photography, there are great spots to do that here as well. Nice. So for me, it's kind of both. It's a way for me to be in my own headspace and practice self-care and just go out and hike and breathe the fresh air and take pictures of. I especially love landscape photography in the sunsets.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, when did you start getting into photography? Was this something that you had a passion for, early on, or just more recently?
Definitely more recently, because I like Ellen's response to when somebody asked her if she wanted to come back to do, I believe it was a 20th season. Mm-hmm. But she's like, no. I'm not coming back for 20th season. I've been doing this for 19 years. I'm ready to try other creative, ventures. Because
Mm-hmm.
your mind just starts to think about, like what else could I do that's more, maybe not more of a challenge, but it's starting to intrigue you a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And as I started to take physical activity more seriously, I thought, well, why not do two things at once? Because I can
Right.
enjoy the healthy aspect of going on a hike, and I could take some photography as well. And so that led to me photographing special events and special occasions for
Wow.
friends, engagement photos and baby announcement photos, um, milestone birthday photo shoots and like a mother-daughter photo shoots. So, I think I always had a lot of respect for photographers because I feel like just because you have a nice camera, it doesn't quite make you the photographer. It's like
That's right.
that's half of the skill. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think you being the person grabbing the camera, you're snapping the shots. You're telling the person if you're photographing, somebody, why don't you look at the camera this way or
Mm-hmm.
stand that way? I feel like it's a mix of both, and I think just the creativeness
Mm-hmm.
that makes photography stand out, and the idea of how you can look at that picture and, like they say, a picture has could the picture thousand words.
Yep. Yep.
Yep, it's relaxing to me.
Yeah.
Just
Well,
to,
being out in nature, I think you said this too, kind of being in your own headspace and
yep.
just really kind of soaking it all in. I mean, there's just something to be said about like being at the top of maybe a hill climb and looking out over the valley, or taking a look at, a nice field of nothing sometimes, but or filled with green or color. Um, my son actually has really taken up hiking a lot more. It's one of the things he loves to do with his friends is just go out, and he always comes home and tells me, Dad, I found this cool spot. It had this awesome view. And it's just like, to take the time to appreciate those kind of things, I think is important, because most of us go through life going from point A to point B and hitting that to-do list and checking the boxes. But as corny as it sounds, like sometimes you got to stop and smell the roses, right? And
Right. That's right.
enjoy that. So I mean, like you said, putting the two together, right? The physical activity of being out and hiking and being, getting that outlet, but then capturing it and taking advantage of it. And
Yeah.
it's just, I know we have in our house, several pictures that my wife has taken. They're just like a
Mhm.
perfect view, and maybe our kids are in it or maybe they're not, but I knew that she took a ton of pictures as they were growing up. And it just, it helps with, as Jose was talking about, memory lane, right? I mean, we
Memory
all
lane.
love to go down memory lane and look back at, pictures. But yeah, there's definitely an art to it. And I think that's cool. So we got photography, we got hiking, you did some running. Now we know that you're an author and a poet as well. So I mean, you're a very creative person. I mean, that's where your talents lie, as being a creative person. Was this something that you noticed as a child early on, or was this something that you just kind of developed as you grew up?
I think it's more of a development, later on,
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't quite understand the concept of self love until a few years ago. Right at the peak of the pandemic, when we were pretty much enclosed.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, and how far we've come since. But I remember it was a time when we were pretty much, um, unless you really have to go out, like you should stay inside, kind of moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was a point in my life where I was pretty much tired of being tired. You know, I even though I didn't really have like a troubled childhood per se,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't grow up being very confident. As much as my mother was a motivator for me,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like how you can take the horse to the water, but you can't make the horse drink the water.
Right.
My mom was just always the consummate motivator, but oftentimes, and I'm preaching to the choir. It's like somebody can motivate you with their life, but it's like you got to want it for you.
Right.
At some point, it sinks into you like, I need this for me.
Mm-hmm.
And just being the single guy for quite a long time, pretty much all my life. Be always being the friend zone guy, always being the nice guy, always like, oh, he's so sweet, he's so good, but friend zone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that would eat at my heart, you know.
Mm.
And so you when you start to develop this sequence of hearing these no's all the time, like it gets to you.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter how confident you are. And in my case, I wasn't confident or self-loving of myself enough. I let it get to me. And so I knew that I had these talents, but I didn't want to share them
Mm.
because I'm thinking to myself, well, I mean, everybody friend zones me. I,
Right.
I don't know if I really want to share my talents until about 3 years ago when Jose reached out to me to do this faith-based uh, group called the Conquered Will.
Mm-hmm.
Very much like 75 Hard, but
Mm-hmm.
in a Catholic way, because it prioritized mind, body, spirit. So physical activity and cold showers and no alcohol, no junk food, and very similar to 75 Hard, but from a religious concentration.
Mm-hmm.
And that really shifted my mindset into believing for the first time in my life that I am I am a special person. I've always been, and it's like I forgive myself for not believing in myself so many years prior.
Mm-hmm.
Like I always had these gifts. And so now that I'm loving myself more than I ever have, I need to start sharing this with the world because you just never know whose life you can touch with the skills that you have.
Mm-hmm.
It's life changing.
And what I love about these interviews, right, is number one, we get to spend some time together, get to know each other, more fellowship. Um, but also at the same time, if one person watches this show and says, "Man, I've got some talents. I should share those talents.
Yeah.
I can believe in myself. I can do it." You know what I mean? If
Yeah.
they get that from this video, that's worth it, right?
Good job,
And
well done.
I remember, so there's several of us, in the CLA group and just kind of people, acquaintances of Jose's that, 75 Hard was like kind of the catalyst for a lot of us, getting on, just these different paths of self growth and self development. And I remember when he started the Conquered Will and just kind of tweaked it a little bit. And
Mhm.
I know, Jose being Catholic, you're Catholic, I'm Catholic as well. So we have a lot of, our faith is a big part
Yeah.
of our life, our belief system, our values. And it's, and we all like these challenges too. It all kind of draws, this piece out of us that helps us expand and grow. And I do want to share this because someone is agreeing with you and recognizing that you are amazing. And I think with my last, earlier this week, or was it last week, I had Gordon Melville on. And,
Mm.
one of the things that he said that's still sticking with me, it just continues to stick with me since he said it, is, you know, you are important. You are special. You do make a difference. And he just kept repeating and repeating those things. And although I've been a martial arts instructor for 2/3 of my life and been, someone that is supposed to have, all this confidence, right? And as a man who's supposed to have all this confidence, we all have that piece of us sometimes that says, are we enough? And
That's
Gordon
right.
says, you are enough.
Yeah.
Whoever you are, whatever you are enough. Right where you are right now, you are enough. And I think that it's just, man, it's something that is kind of hard to remind ourselves sometimes because we get so focused with social media and just the media in general of what we are, quote, supposed to be, how we're supposed to act, what success is supposed to look like. Everybody says you should do this, you should do that. And it's like, I don't know. I don't know if that's the
Mm,
I don't know if that's going to work for everybody. I mean, maybe that motivates some people, but for some people that makes it even harder because then you
right.
feel less than. You feel like you're failing if you're not at this particular level. So, I'm enjoying the conversation so far. I know, and Gabby's out there. There's Gabby.
There's
I think
Gabby.
see,
Hey.
I wasn't sure if this was Gabby but she's always watching. So Gabby, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all of your support. Another amazing
Yes.
CLA member, but just such a great person, really great person.
She's a great person. We've got
And
royalty in the house now.
yeah, and if you guys have not seen my interview with Gabby, please go check it out. It was a great chat that we had. So, Raul, we've talked a lot about you growing up and your family so far, but we really haven't talked about how you became the Wise Wolf
Mm.
and talking about the Wise Wolf show. I love that. I love that. I love the wolf.
Ah, thank you.
So cool. So cool. So tell me about it. How did you get started? I'm assuming this kind of like started to formulate right as you became a member of CLA, as you started working on your personal growth and your self-love more. So tell me how that worked out.
Yep. I have to thank CLA for inspiring me to find that creativity, to use that creativity for in a good way to rebrand myself as Wise Wolf, because pretty much I don't really promote that I DJ anymore, because I physically and time wise, it's not, I don't have the time for it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Work takes up a lot of time, and now I go to a lot of CLA and personal growth events, so it's kind of like mentally I'm on another path. And as I started to embrace the writer in me more, I'm like, if I've creatively been, DJ Roomba for 18 years, it's like I want to embrace about this poet in me with just as creatively. It's like, so I want a pen name. And so I'm like, let me so I'm brainstorming, how what pen name should I use? And there was this other poet who goes by the pen name of Young Pueblo, kind of like young town in
Mm-hmm.
English.
Mm-hmm.
But he spells it Yung. So I'm like, that's like, I like that. I think his real name is Diego Torres, but everybody knows him poetically as Young Pueblo. He's a poet. He's a motivational speaker, and he's a good person to follow on social media. And he's got 3 books.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said to myself, it's like, that's really catchy. It's creative. I like it. But how do I get from Raul to something like Young Pueblo? And I'm scratching my head, and I'm like, I'm going to do something I've never done before. And I'm going to say, I'm going to Google what my name means. And I surprisingly discovered that Raul means Wolf Council. And I said, well, that's that. I mean, I like wolves. This is great. This is a good start, right? But Wolf Council isn't quite creative enough to have a pen name with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking, well, council is like counselor, and a counselor is a very smart person, a very giving of their time and attention and help. I said they're very wise. And then I had my light bulb moment. I'm like, Wolf Wise. No, 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 no. Let's switch their positions. Wise Wolf. And I'm like, that's it.
There it is.
That,
There
there
it
it
is.
is. There it is.
And now, when you talk about your Facebook lives that you do, I noticed that the whys
Yes.
part of it was WHY. So
Yes.
talk about that. You went from
Yes.
the Wise Wolf yourself to the Wise
Yep.
Wolf podcast.
So I've been fortunate enough to have people on that have books as well. They're authors. I don't want to limit it to just authors, but
Right.
because the reason why I wanted it to be WHY is because, and very much the way you and I are just kind of talking between two people, very conversationally talk about the whys behind what it is that they do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what's their gift to the world
Mm-hmm.
as writers, and more importantly, I feel like it's the why do you do what you do as a person.
Right.
You know, we can get really caught up in describing ourselves with our titles. You're like, oh, I'm the CEO, or I'm the founder, or I'm the executive director. These all sound very nice, but who are you, Jason Flame? Like,
Right.
who's that person behind all of the work that you do? Like, what's that inspiration that comes from your core
Mm-hmm. I love that.
that inspires you to do what you do?
Yeah, no, I think that's amazing, and we're very similar in that way. That that's the part that I mean, I get bios from everybody, whether I know them well or not, and read it, and I go, okay, cool, but let's go deeper than that.
Yeah,
You know,
that's right.
let's get deeper. Let's go to the core of values and beliefs, and like you said, why we do the things we do. And one of the things that that we talk about, and the questions that I send to people is, tell me about your challenges. Tell me about some of your failures. Because listen, everybody on social media loves to post all the good stuff. But we don't always hear the failures. And to me, when I hear about someone that had a failure and bounced back from it, to me, that's motivating. It's like, okay, cool. Because I've failed at a ton of things, and have to realize that failure is what sometimes will catapult me forward. Right.
Yep.
And talking about those challenges, also sharing your experience. I think one of the greatest things about this show, and by the way, I started my show with a lot of martial artists. It was that's my sphere of influence, is martial artists all over the world. And I said, no, there's more than that. I want to talk to authors, I want to talk to actors, I want to talk to speakers, and just kind of bring it all together. But getting deeper and finding out the why behind how people work. It's just sharing that experience, I think, is motivating, right?
More about it. Yep.
It's inspiring, and motivation only lasts so long, right? Like motivation, inspiration. I mean, I know that there's going to be a lot of people that talk about you got to have discipline and you got to have commitment. Absolutely, absolutely. But it's kind of hard to sometimes develop the discipline without a little bit of motivation and a little bit of inspiration to kind of give you that bump, right?
That's right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I love it. So tell me about the book that you've written, and then you have a second book that you're working on as well.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
So yeah, I mean, so early on, I the writing piece. Remember that the writing piece. The excuse me, I need some water too.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, I know. I always gotta have a little iced tea here.
The writing piece was never really the issue for me. The issue was that I wasn't believing in myself enough
Mm-hmm.
to write a book and share it with with the world. And so when I started to take this personal growth journey more seriously, um, the easiest form of writing that comes to me is poetry. And so I said to myself, if I've been able to turn my life around in a number of ways, more, and perhaps if I'm, and this is where if I'm really speaking to you, and you take something from this is my takeaway from you, for you. If I've been able to turn my life around from recovering from an addiction perspective, having plenty of nights thinking that I could never get over it, and now be 3 years sober because I finally decided to appreciate myself and all the gifts that I have. You can do this too.
Mm-hmm.
And I had plenty of nights where I never thought I'd overcome it. I go 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, boom, relapse again.
Hmm.
And it wasn't love, or it wasn't alcohol or drugs or gambling for me. It was for me as a guy. We're naturally hungry, so to speak, for some things.
Mm-hmm.
And when you don't get that love back, but you still hunger for that love, where do you turn to? And that was my addictive journey for a really long time.
Hmm.
really long time. And it wasn't until I started to open up to other CLA members that I've really had great communication and connection with, that I started to say, what am I afraid of sharing? That I struggled with this for such a long part of my life that it's not a part of my lifestyle anymore. I'm a human being. I guess I struggled with this addiction, but I've overcome it.
Mm-hmm.
Because now it's like I'm on this journey of personal growth like I've never been on before, and I'm not looking back. So now is the best time ever to put all of that inspiration behind everything that it's meant for me to be in this stage of my life now, to be completely sober for 3 years now. I want to inspire people. And I learned, waking up with gratitude every single day is when it doesn't matter to you if the cup is half empty or half full. You're happy that you have a cup.
Right.
And you can always refill it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No matter what happens in your life, you know that the last 24 hours were yesterday. I'm committed to make the next 24 hours even better. That's the growth piece.
Mm-hmm.
And the greatness piece comes from one of the best books that I've read is Zig Ziglar's Better Than Good. I'm like, who knew that good had an enemy? Like, good is the enemy of great.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that, inspire you to know that there's always another level that you can go to with self-love, with inspiration, with motivation, with being the best version of who you can be. There's
Mm-hmm.
always another level to it if we really choose to and embrace it, So putting that book together, I thought was was what is now a start with me wanting to be an inspiration for others.
Yeah, good for you. Well, I really appreciate you being authentic and transparent, and I think that is so important and something so lacking because so many people, men specifically, I think, kind of really hold these things in and don't let it out. They don't talk with someone. They don't because we look at it as a failure. And when we look at a failure, we're not supposed to fail, right? So I truly appreciate you just being vulnerable and putting this out there and talking about it because again, if there's one person that watches this and goes, man, that guy Raul, he did it. Yep. I can do it, right? And that's exactly what I know that's exactly what you want to happen, Yes. And I have 2 children, right? And so almost 22 and 18. Let's see, she's 21 and 18, my son. And I always get that wrong. My wife laughs at me. She's like, how do you not know your kid's age? I do. I just have to, I'm like thinking ahead so fast. But anyway, my point is that, when I look at my kids, I like to share with them, some of my failures and shortcomings so that they can learn from it and so that they can grow from it. I try not to hide too much from my kids, especially now that they're adult kids, and so they can maturely understand what's going on. And, I think every dad wants their kids to have greater opportunities to do better than we did. And what better way than to show them the mistakes and show them the things that we did wrong and allow them to learn, cut that learning curve down a little bit for them to have a higher level of success. Now, of course, they're going to make their own mistakes. They're going to do their own things. I mean, you got to learn that way. But man, if I can help in any way, and for my students as well, I teach kids from ages 3 to 63. And once again, if I'm teaching martial arts, like I want to give them every opportunity that maybe I didn't have, or give them every opportunity that I see that we can continue to push them forward. I think now, more than ever, creating leaders is so important because you talked earlier about, it's like we can't get away from it. We keep talking about, pre-COVID, everything that's like the marker in our life now. But but I think that again, now more than ever is creating leaders and good leaders can admit when they're wrong. Good leaders can say, hey, I made a mistake and this is how I can fix it, or how I accept it and move forward. Every setback, is like an arrow, right? You got to pull the arrow back to send it forward, and these things are going to happen as part of our life. So again, I think it's important that we share these things. And so now I believe you're working on a second book, right? It's in the works.
It's in the works.
All right. Tell us about it.
CLA, there's a CLA anthology that's going to be coming out very soon, with some CLA founding members. And we have an anthology coming up that's called Dear Younger Me.
Nice.
So words of inspiration that we could tell the younger version of ourselves. Now that we've gone on this trajectory of life and we've acquired this wisdom. What are some words of inspiration that you would tell your younger self today?
Well, I mean, I got to ask you this question. I got to ask you that question now, because holy moly, man. Like, if I could think about, first of all, I think if I could talk to my younger self, I would just literally slap myself upside the head and be like, pay attention. Pay attention. There's lessons all around you and you're not paying attention. What would you say is one of the tips that you would talk to your younger self?
I would say saying no is okay. A saying no is really just it's a yes to the things that you need to prioritize, and it's a no. It's a temporary no to the other person. Like, not right now, but there's a potential for the next time. So much of my life I was spent saying yes to everything and everyone, because we tend to overvalue it. And me, especially if I'm talking to the younger version of me, I went way above and beyond, people pleasing.
Yeah.
Because I wanted the approval. I wanted that love that I never really gave myself until 3 years ago. You've got to, and you talked about this before. It's like, you've got to do you. You got to stay in your lane. You have the gifts that God gave you, so you inspire the world with your gifts. Don't compare yourself to the others, because you got to stay in your lane. It's like, and I feel like that's where imposter syndrome really starts to kick in, because we'll have our moments where we're comparing ourselves to other people, and we're like, well, that guy's he's bigger, he's faster, he's richer, he's more developed,
yeah, all of it.
And like, maybe I have one of those things. It's like, geez, and we start to beat ourselves up for it, and it's kind of like, well, give yourself a break here. You're in growth development, and it's never going to be this. Well, I got here and I'm done.
Right.
Because one of my favorite inspirational quotes is, the top of one mountain is the bottom of the next.
Yeah.
So it's okay to say no to things, and some people, if they don't resonate with your values, with what you're trying to accomplish, to say yes to what it is that you truly want to do in life.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. Well, I'm looking forward to reading that, and I'd love to. Where can we find your first book?
I can share a link here with you once we're off the live.
Absolutely.
I can definitely share the link to get the book on Amazon.
Okay.
I also have a link to get autographed copies from me as well.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. If you can drop that, at some point after the video ends, you can drop that in the comments so that everybody that's been watching, or everybody does watch, we can get that. I'd love to order a copy just so I can read it myself, because I haven't read it yet. And I think it'd be great, especially just having this conversation with you, for an hour. One of the things that we do in CLA is we do coffee chats, right? And sometimes I feel like that coffee chat is like, it's like a sip It's
It
like
leaves the
not
one
even.
more.
It's so this is my version of a coffee chat. We've got an hour,
Yes, yes.
right? Because I've gotten to know so much more in detail. And you know what I love just in the time that I've spent with you today is, I mean, I just love the overall, you know, I get a very humble feeling from you, right? You've made some mistakes, you've had some hardships, as we all have, but you're willing to put it out there, and you're willing to talk about it.
Yeah.
And
And I wasn't very confident to do that before.
yeah,
But
yeah,
and it's in this part of my life now where it's kind of like it's not just about you. Like, and I say this in general
mm-hmm,
because I can say something, Jason can say something, any of us can say something to somebody virtually or in person, and we just never know how much it's going to mean to somebody that we say something, and it's like, man, that really hit the heart, dude.
mm-hmm,
You don't know how that inspired me
yeah,
to realize that I do matter. I am valuable. I do have these talents, and I can do something with them.
absolutely,
Thank you for inspiring me. Like,
yeah,
I look at it from that lens now, and not so much what are people going to say if I'm vulnerable and transparent
right,
and speaking with integrity to say I'm not perfect.
sure.
I've had my struggles, but I choose growth over an illusion of perfection.
Yeah, that illusion, right? I mean, that just kind of grabs us all. You know, I as I mentioned before, you know, teaching martial arts and owning a martial arts school, I have several teenage employees or instructors that work at our school. And we're talking, you know, and they even start helping to teach, you know, 11, 12, 13 years old. And I tell them even then, you know, 11, 12, 13 years old, all the way up to, you know, my higher ranking instructors that have been with me, you know, you really have no idea how powerful your words are that you use with these young people. You know, we have 11, 12, 13 year old kids talking to 3, 4, 5, 6, you know, year old kids. And how much of an impact what you say and how you say it and the words that you use when you're not only on the mat, on the, you know, on the floor teaching, but, you know, maybe outside, you know, because some of these 3, 4, and 5 year olds see their teenage instructor at the
Mhm.
grocery store, and they're like, oh my God, you know, it's like, to them, that's looking at a superhero, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
and sometimes that's a hard pressure to face and to realize that how much of what you say, the words you use, have such an impact. But I mean, you know, having taught for, you know, many years now, I meet students that train with me that when they were kids, and like, remember when you told me this? And like, to me, it was like, yeah, I mean, I just kind of said that, but to them, that was like this moment, right? Or now I have, you know, adults who are bringing me their children to now come and train with me, and I brought him here because of all the things that you taught me when I was a kid. I want my son or daughter to learn that here moving forward. How powerful, how
yeah.
powerful is that? And as a young instructor myself, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize. I just thought, like, I'm the man. I look good up there. I love this attention, right? It was all about me, right?
Exactly.
And
Yep,
now,
yep.
yeah, I don't look at that spotlight the same way. I look at that as a microphone, as a book, as a video that people can watch, and now people can grow from by hearing us talk, right?
Exactly.
Or hearing us speak, or hearing us teach. That's going to help them grow. So yeah, it's amazing. You use the word lens. You know, when you look through it through a different lens,
Mm-hmm.
man, your perspective is so different, so different.
Well,
So,
different.
man, this hour went super fast, didn't it? I mean,
Super
it's
fun.
like you know, we're just hanging out. We're just
Just
hanging
like
out. I
two
love
buddies
it.
hanging
But
out and having personal growth conversations. They fly.
I know they totally do. You know, and I tell every single person, you know, every time I have a new guest on the show, you know, just thank you for opening up to me. Thank you for teaching you. Thank you for inspiring me and motivating me, because I feel a little selfish sometimes. Like, I get to do these videos a couple times a week. I feel like is my therapy. This is my session.
There you go.
But I hope that I've done a great job of highlighting you and highlighting all that you've done and all that you will continue to do. So, thank you so much for being on the show. And I'm looking forward to reading the compilation book, as well as checking out the link for your book so I can get a copy, and would love for you to autograph it as well.
Oh, I'm with complete gratitude, and
Yeah.
thank you for inspiring the world the way you do, because truly you are. I think we're really influencers in a positive way, that we have these platforms where people can share their stories.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the most beautiful lesson that I take from this year, which we're so quickly approaching the midway point already.
Wow.
I think people who open ourselves enough to let other people share their stories, I mean, those are the people that you really want to prioritize connecting with,
Mm-hmm.
because we're in a lot of ways we're spreading the peace and the joy and the therapy, so to speak, that
Mm-hmm.
other people need, because maybe they've been afraid to share their story, but now we're giving them the opportunity to do so. And it's like we're inspiring and we're changing lives in a good way. And I humbly thank you for giving me the time to share my story today, because truly, I mean, we may not feel it, but it's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I definitely feel it. And I think that those that took the time to watch us here live today, and anybody that watches this down the line, I want to encourage everybody to go to YouTube and subscribe to this channel, Master Motivation Podcast. Today is number 175, and I don't see any end in sight. Got a lot of great guests coming up, but truly appreciate Raul being on the show today. Thank you so much, and look forward to chatting again soon.
You got it, my friend.
All right, guys. Well, that's it for today. We hope that we have done a great job of sharing Raul's story and inspiring you and motivating you to go out and be the best version of yourself. Make it a great day, and we'll see you guys on the next time.